All right, gang, new game on the table. Since my buddy Wardrobe has played it and come up with some interesting results and seems to really have enjoyed this standard combat series, Rostov 41 Race to the Dawn from MMP, thought maybe I would throw it up. And I also know another one of the gang, McMurray, from Rocky's War Room. He's got it on the way and he's going to be playing it. So I thought we would give it a shot. So it's only 14 turns. So we're going to get after this. It's of course it's standard combat series, so you know the 7-page rule book for the standard rules, and then of course they manipulate the game to fit the environment. And Rostov is actually maybe a front page, a back page, and a couple marks on another page of rules. They provide you with these barrage markers. There's one for each artillery unit on the board, so that you can mark your targets and then also know whether you've been fired or not. So what I'm doing is I'm just stacking them on top of the units, the artillery unit that shows that they have the ability to barrage. And then once they barrage, I just pull it off the map until the end of the turn. This is initiative based. So you roll to see who gets the initiative unless the scenario tells you otherwise. And at the start of the campaign game, it's the Russians have the initiative on the first turn. Objective based, you see all the little orange markers? Those are the victory hexes. There are rules about touching the victory hex, passing through it, and then there are end of game victory conditions for actually occupying it and being in supply. The Germans need to get at least 14 victory points by the end of the game to be a winner. And of course, you know, Rostov is here, surrounded by all these units here. So that's your primary objective. There's a lot of victory points. I think it's like 15 or something like that. Air power in the game. Of course, it's a standard combat series, so air works like artillery, except for whoever wins the initiative, whatever the difference in die roll was, that's how many airstrikes he gets, up to a maximum of 3. Okay. Movement in this game. There's a lot of mud weather. You're going to roll on certain turns for weather. And then really, you get mud, and the Germans just get flat out smoked in this game. You've got 3 types of transportation. You've got major roads, tracks, and railroads. The tracks and the railroads are half movement point up each one, and the major roads are 1/4 of a movement point. So you can move quite a good distance. You have exploitation move for your yellow banded units. They get a second movement phase. You have overrun, which can be conducted by your exploitation units during clear turns, and in certain terrain. I think clear terrain is really it. I have to check on that one. The Germans have 2 bombardment phases. They can bombard in one or the other. They can also use air if they have air power. They can use it during any Soviet phase, like to slow movement, maybe to affect Russian barraging units before they barrage, maybe to affect a combat before it takes place. So when the Germans get to use their air power, they really get a big advantage on that one. All right, but this is the end of turn 1. The initial objectives as the Germans, I'm going to try to shoot up here and take Stalino and maybe start working down that road there, taking those victory conditions. I want to try to clear out this area up here with all these foothills before the Russians can get too much there. Only problem is I can't really send a major force. I can't take forces from here because there's too many Russian units down here. Focused an attack here just north of Taganrog, and got across, destroyed a unit, retreated a unit, disorganized. Got a little hole right there where we ended up destroying a unit. Another interesting rule about this game is 1-strength units cannot be destroyed or eliminated by barrage, only by combat or overrun. All right, so turn 1, there we go. The Russians are trying to back up initially to get a good defensive line and then wait for all those reinforcements they got. But the Germans actually have quite a few too, in the form of divisions. All right, so we're going to move on to turn 2. The Russians have already got the initiative for this one, and we'll get back to this report as soon as we're done. Talk to you soon. All right, welcome in, Hex to Hex. Let's play a little catch up here on Rostov 41, the Race to the Dawn, MMP. So when this game starts, pretty much the Germans are sitting through this area right in here, below all this writing. That's my note for the next turn, so I don't forget. So the Germans are pretty much in here, and they're racing down the axes they have, pushing towards Rostov, which probably can't see. But it's over this way. Nothing going on with it right now, so we're not going to show that. So they have pushed all the way to the Mayas. Well, actually, they're here at the start. There's some light Russian units in the area here and around this area, and they've pretty much driven them out. So, kind of split the force and sent the Viking division and some other reinforcing divisions that came on, and along with I think this is the 16th Panzer here. Sent them north to get Stalino. And they took Stalino without any trouble whatsoever. And then some Soviet reinforcements came in on this entry area here, D, and they're defensively, they're pretty strong units. They destroyed the Viking recon unit, but then the Germans had enough with reinforcements to strike back. And I'm learning the artillery barrage stuff in this game. Getting a DG on a stack before you attack it's extremely valuable. So they ended up rolling a 12 on an attack on the biggest stack that was sitting right here where this division is. And it gave them 2 strength point losses, and when they're all single step units. Plus they had to retreat, and friendly zones of control do not negate enemy zones of control in this game when it comes to retreat after combat. So the 3rd unit in that division, when it retreated, it was into an enemy zone of control. So they wiped out the whole division in one little attack. So they've taken Stalino. They've got Stalino secured. They've taken Taganrog down here on the bay. I focused initially with the Germans. I focused all my forces in an attack across the river there, straight to Taganrog, and was so quick that never really had a chance to put Soviets in there to defend it. Not messing around here, was trying to secure these crossings here with the Russians, but now you've got the Germans up here behind this unit here in Maloshestayakov or something like that, which is also a victory location. All the little orange things are victory locations. And like I say, the Germans need to get 14 to get a minor win in this. So the objective was, let's have a focused push here. Let's get this stuff off the river and start driving towards Rostov. Let's sweep with as much mobility as we can this way, take as much of this stuff as we can, and then probably start the new offensive along this line here, start driving down towards Rostov and start taking some of these other victory locations. So we'll keep pushing here. Try to clear up some of this stuff. I don't know. The one good thing about games like this is that I don't know much of the history. I don't know where these reinforcements are coming from until the chart tells me to put them on the map. If we go over here and look at the one of the interesting rules here, when an infantry unit with a movement strength of 5 or less is eliminated in combat, you roll a dice. On a 1 to 3, they come back in. So if you roll a 1, you bring them back in on the turn record chart as reinforcements one turn ahead of where the game turn marker is. So on a 1 to 3, they come back in either 1, 2, or 3 steps ahead, depending on what the die roll is. On a 4, 5, or 6, they are completely eliminated, and they go. I just put them up here for right now. So all these losses right here are Soviet permanently eliminated losses. Those units cannot come back in. And there's the Viking division. So he's out of the game too. He's not going to be coming back in. All right. So that's how we've progressed. That's through 3 turns of Rostov 41. We're going to try to drive on, play a couple more turns tonight, and get some more footage up on that. All right, we'll talk to y'all shortly. Let's do some catching up here on Rostov 41. So my buddy Wardrobe played this and really enjoyed this SCS game. Well, he was right. So I took a snapshot before turn 1. I think I might have took a little video after turn 1 and then after turn 3. I have already played yesterday from turn 3 all the way into turn 10 the game has kept my attention really, really well. So I've only got, well, counting turn 10, I've only got 5 turns left. But let's catch up to what's going on here. So you hit all these mud turns. Let me do this right here. So you hit a stretch. Now I played the campaign game. So you hit this, and yes, I rolled like a 5. So I went to mud on 4, then mud, then mud, then mud, and then I did not get clear. I stayed mud. But then I got clear on turn 9. And let me tell you something. Those mud turns, they slow this thing down. Kill that. They slow this thing down drastically. So, and I was, you're rolling for artillery and it gets cut in half. The Germans got like 15 artillery units on the board, but you can only roll 1 dice and then you only get half of that. Well, I kept rolling a stinking 1 or a 2. I think a 3 was the biggest I rolled, and they ended up getting 2 one turn. The Soviets kept getting 2 and 3 for theirs, which they didn't really have much on the board anyhow. All right, so finally, and I thought, and I'm not going to lie to you, during those mud turns, I thought to myself, man, look at all the Soviets coming on, and the Germans are just not making any headway because all of your motorized movement stuff that has black movement values, all their attack factors are halved. Attack factors, not defense, attack factors. Air gets cut down quite a bit. I mean, the most any side can get is 3, and only one side will get air every turn. As you can see for this turn here, the Soviets won the initiative. I think they rolled a 6, the Germans rolled a 5. No. 6, the Germans rolled a 4, and on a clear they get a +1, so it was 5. So the Soviets got 1 air power. Artillery's back to full, and the Germans, they need it. It's very, very valuable to them. All right, so anyhow, we hit that clear turn on turn 9, and man, the fireworks started. I think I fired 12 artillery barrages with the Germans, and on 7 of them I rolled a 1. And I think I had a 2 and a 3, maybe a 4 on a couple others, and then just a couple of misses. And then but the aircraft, I had 3 aircraft that turn, and I think I had 1 DG, and the other 2 I rolled 6, so they didn't do anything. But you roll a 1 or a 2 with an artillery barrage, and the artillery factor, like you see that one there's got a 4. You roll 2 less than the barrage factor, and it causes a step loss. But you cannot eliminate the last step of a unit with an artillery barrage. But it doesn't say nothing about airstrikes. And I happened to get a step loss kill with an airstrike on turn, I think it was turn, I think the Germans had 1 air on turn 8 or something like that. I can't remember. But so anyhow, look at the hole that opened up right here. And now the Soviets, the reinforcements that were coming on that were going to build up, allow them to build up and maybe strike back, that's all that's there now. Because the Germans, I'm telling you right now, on turn 9, I think I had 8 overrun attacks by the Germans because of all the exploitable units. You see what happened down here? Now, you would think those Germans would be out of supply, but they're not, because on their turn, when they moved around there and overran, they were in supply. Now, the Soviets have moved, they moved second at the end of turn 9. So now, and they've won the initiative on turn 10, so those German units there, they will go out of supply on this next turn. But it's not going to do the Soviets any good right now to attack them because they're I mean, look at the defenses. They're 5s, and there's stacks there. So I doubt they'll attack them this time. And on the bad side, those Soviet units right there are out of supply. So the only way to fix that is to get one of these stacks down in here next to that LAH unit so that you have a consecutive line of hexes of units to use for supply. This has been an interesting game. Here's what I think the best thing about this game is. It's got a couple of unique rules. They're not tough. They're unique. It's got quite a bit of victory conditions, okay? And it's not overwhelming with counters. And then it's the SCS series. And like I say, the additional rules are like 2 pages at most, and a page and a half. So it's worked really, really well. So let's take a quick look around the map. This little guy up here, he has been given hell. So these German units have had to leave these German units back here to clear him out. And you can see what happened. They cornered him, attacked him, and he had to retreat. And he was a stack of 3. Well, the only way he could retreat was towards Stalino. So, and he actually wasn't able to get there, and he was reduced to only that one last unit. And they had him before he took Stelino. They had him outside of Stelino, and they cornered him, and they attacked, and the Germans rolled a stinking 1. The only thing they could have rolled other than they rolled a 2. The only thing they could have rolled other than that was a 3, which was a no effect on the attack. They rolled a 2. It was attack or retreat 1. The Soviet turn came up, and he took both Stelino hexes. So, blah, 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 blah. So they've still got to clear him out because now those are lost victory points. The Germans are starting to break out down here. I thought I would come back in and attack with these Soviet units, but then I realized, look at their strengths. 2, 1, 1, 1. 1 armor unit, which, by the way, the Soviets lost, I'm going to say 90% of their armor. There's the permanent lost casualties. Again, the rule in this game here is when you a 5 or less movement point valued infantry unit, when they get eliminated, you roll a dice. If it's a 1 through 3, they go back on the turn record track as reinforcement. If it's 4, 5, or 6, they're permanently eliminated. All right, so we got 2 German losses, and those are both going to cost points because they're part of panzer divisions. And then all those, so look at all that armor's lost. The NKVD unit there, why they painted them red, that usually means guard units. And then all that artillery, which I got to check victory conditional. I know if the Germans lose artillery, there's points that it'll cost. All right, so there's your progression through turn 9. I'm starting turn 10, and I'm going to try to finish this tonight if I can. It's no victory yet for the Germans. I know they have to have at least 14 victory points, and I really haven't done any calculating, and I'm hoping there's not points that I'm supposed to account for through the play. I'm hoping everything's at the end of the game. All right. So let's get after this thing. Let's get this thing wrapped up. I'm having a good time with this. All right, let's get this posted as soon as we can. See you soon.